Okay, perfect.
Now, your WC
Rain like me. All right, I have the Facebook pulled up and ready to listen on Northern Baby Chance.
Okay, perfect.
Breezy winds change to west. We again have some thunder showers as well. High of 47.
Okay.
Colder Friday, chance for snow. High of 35. Good morning. Weather volunteer.
Hi, welcome home.
Michael Carroll. Wow, it's a big here.
Oh, look, I'm glad that you got away.
This message is for you. My dad, Sally.
Glad you got away.
Cover filing expense.
All right, I hear everyone loud and proud.
Okay, loud and proud. That's rich. Okay, thank you.
Easy, affordable life insurance available to anyone between the
Okay,
ages of
Pastor, I am just trying to get a couple of other things together.
and no waiting period. Call like 800-956.
Thank you.
800-956. Having repairs done in your apartment.
We have about 4.5 minutes also.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you for that.
My leaky focus turned into the maintenance man asking, when are we going to get to know each other better? I needed my air conditioner. My building manager repeatedly kept coming into my apartment unannounced without permission. My landlord told me my rent would be free if I gave him something in exchange.
Sexual harassment by anyone associated with your housing isn't just wrong, it's against the law. The Fair Housing Act protects.
And real quick, just again, just for so I know for sure. Both these guests, Reverend Attorney Jeanette Wilson and Attorney Aaron Cox.
File a complaint against my building manager.
Mr. Franklin, out of memory.
Fair housing. The law is on.
And I'm going to reach out to Dr. Starks and see if he can do it. Okay?
Know that?
Okay, thank you.
Public service message from HUD, partnership with National Fair Housing. This is Morgan Freeman, executive producer of the documentary film Santita. And I'm here to tell you that defeating cancer is a breakthrough. A breakthrough is the start of something extraordinary. To be breakthrough is to be great. Many small breakthroughs can lead inevitably to a big breakthrough. The kinds of breakthroughs that advance life. The ones that save lives are the millions. You are the breakthrough. Through the patients taking part in clinical trials. Through the scientists doing next level research to beat cancer. Through the doctors and nurses who honestly care for everyone along the way. Let's be the breakthrough.
To learn about screenings and clinical trials that may be right for you, go to standuptocancer.org/breakthrough. Stand Up to Cancer is a program of the Intercity Ministry Foundation. Please talk to your healthcare provider about appropriate screenings and clinical trials that may be right for you.
The future depends on teachers. Every day, teachers are shaping our tomorrow, starting with students on journeys that will change the course of history. Right now,
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Carol from New York City. Kenneth, how you doing? Angela. Salam, you know, we're going to be talking about this,
inspiring environmentalists who will help combat climate change and
this,
generating possibilities for a student who will be the
oh
first
goodness,
to
the
evaluate
State of the
college.
Union.
It all starts with teachers who meet challenges with creativity, who reinvent education for the future, who work towards a school system that lifts up every child, regardless of race, income, or zip code, and to enable the full potential of our students, our communities, and our country. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Shape the future. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
I will be right by your side. Women can have it all, including heart symptoms like jaw pain, nausea, unusual fatigue, dizziness, and backache are often different and more subtle than for a man. The fact is, heart disease is the #1 killer of women. Know the signs. Learn more at getheartcheck.org from Women's Heart Alliance in partnership with Women Heart.
60 seconds.
Okay.
Did you know what we that's on the back and the things on that road that is right pressure in tires? Probably inflated tires are the best gasoline. Check your
website from the National Council on Aging that connects
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It is great to be with you today. It is Wednesday, February 8th, 2023. And did you see the State of the Union address last night? You know, it was really interesting. I thought that the president, gave an excellent address. We're going to look at what he said, what went unsaid, what he gave that was needed, and what it is that you need. There were some things that were left off the table, not Medicare and Medicaid. Certainly we needed that. But is there a real effort to launch a war on poverty? And so many of you might say, I don't know if we really need that, but more and more Americans are finding themselves descending into that stage. So we need to talk about that. We need to talk about that. What about not the middle class, but the working class? Let's talk about that too. Got a lot that will be on the table, and I want to hear from you at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. Let's talk about the state be respectful. This is the President of the United States. Let's behave respectfully. Well, it kind of sounded like Parliament, British Parliament. Does anyone watch Questions and Answers? It comes on Sunday nights on C-SPAN. I love it because boy, oh boy, the Prime Minister has taken incoming fire like you would not believe. Now, and they say some of everything. And, the British, these... it's not the accents. It's just, the sharpness of the wit and it's just laser-like. And on one level, I think that would be healthier for us, to have this, this facade of everything is all right. It's not true. But you don't want to be disrespectful. And calling the president a liar, as Marjorie Taylor Greene did, and shouting it's your fault that a young person died of fentanyl while his father is watching the State of the Union address. I think that you're going over the line. But I want to know what your thoughts are. Call me at 773-763-9278. Carol from New York City. Kenneth, how you grand rising to you. Angela Burns. Salam, how you doing? Laura, hey, sweetie. All my people. Laura, how you doing? Joyce. Daryl, sending you much love. So I want you to call me at 773-763-9278. In Chicago, we're going to have a score and think he just might be playing for another 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, look, in that kind of shape, as long as these gentlemen have, and the consistency down through the years. Look at the people who he has played with, some of the all-time greats. They're in retirement. Wow, Tom Brady and LeBron James. But today is for LeBron James, 38,390 points. He was able to set that record, make that record, break that record, if you will, in front of the man who had held the record for 40 years, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And they were all emotional. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, thrilled for him. And of course, we can never, ever forget Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because he is just great. And when you get to that level, you're just great. You're just great. You're just great. Congratulations to you, LeBron James. In the NBA and elsewhere, of course, the Chicago and Minneapolis teams had a tough time. The Nuggets 146, the Timberwolves 112. And, well, the Grizzlies 104 and the Bulls 89. But better luck next time. In the NHL, the Ducks 3, Chicago 2, and the Wild will be playing the Stars tonight. I want you to call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. I want you to tell me what you think of the State of the Union address. Did it disappoint? Did it make you feel great? Do you feel that your questions were answered? Do you appreciate President Biden's demeanor? There's many people are wondering if he has enough through another campaign, and he looked really strong to me. I mean, I don't know why we push old people under the bus. We need them. We need their wisdom. He's been on the Hill, what, 50 years? My goodness, everybody. He delivered his second State of the Union address on Tuesday night, telling Republicans that he wants to work together. He did a lot of talk about bipartisan participation, everybody. Call me at 773-763-9278. Let me know what you think about that. The death toll from this devastating Turkey, Syria earthquake continues to rise. It has surpassed 11,000 people, according to authorities. Aid agencies and emergency workers say that number will likely increase. Thousands upon thousands of buildings have been destroyed. And as time goes on, it seems more and more unlikely that they will find survivors. But let's continue to pray, everybody, for the people of Syria and Turkey. The U.S. Navy released new photos of the sailors recovering. There's Tuesday that Title 42 in the but not the interesting to give you that little factoid. Pastor Vicki Johnson. Well, I mean, I just think it's interesting because if you want to hold I are
It's good to be back. Back in the 20th century, you might often hear something spoken off the cuff. Later, you might have heard those same people say, "Be good to yourself." Upon hearing the words, more people began getting manicures and pedicures and even splurging on massages. In retrospect, we call that self-care. Self-care is something that is really encouraged for people in professions that are focused on the care of others, like first responders, nurses, ministers, therapists, home health care workers, veterinarians, all who can easily experience compassion fatigue, resulting in anger, depression, feelings of which also includes saying no when necessary and not feeling guilty about it. It is finding quiet time without the intrusion of outside noise, taking yourself to lunch, enjoying a movie or your favorite sitcom. It is seeing your healthcare provider as required. Self-care is finding and seeing a mental health provider to share your thoughts and feelings, not just your physician, not just your spiritual leader, but someone trained in that field. Self-care matters. It is up to you to make sure that it happens for you. No one else can care for you quite like you can. You must do it for yourself. And when you get really good at it, some may think that you are being selfish. Don't let anyone shame you because you are looking out for you. Take care of yourself. Be good to yourself. If you will do this, and I believe that you will, then to me, that's good news.
Amen to that. Amen to that. You know, £40. 40 in addition to the nearly 200 I'd lost before. So I've lost in the range of like 230 pounds. And Great Scott, who's this wonderful, wonderful technician. She is really a designer, but I mean, she is like just a tremendous, no one can put together an article of clothing like she can. I mean, she really is incredible. She brought my measurements to me Knighton, and we saw that I lost about 26 inches around my bust, 20 inches around my waist, and nearly 30 around my hips. And it was only when I decided to say no, because I was overextended, because honestly, I put everybody ahead of me. I never made it on my own list for a whole lot of reasons. I wanted, and I knew that when I had this surgery, I said, at least, because even my thinking then was a little different. I said, well, at least my parents, they're okay. My brothers, my sister, they're doing well. And, because I'm the eldest child. So I'm like, if I've, taken the hit like Venus did for Serena, I'm good with it. No matter what happens, if I don't come out of this, I'm all right. But I can tell you, it's not okay not to take care of yourself. And my friend said, it's not selfish, it's selfness. Become aware of yourself and take good care of yourself. So I just want you to know how much your message resonated with me today.
Yes, yes.
Which brings me to that. Now, how can we worship with you on Sunday?
Well, on Sundays we worship at St. Thomas Lutheran Church.
On 80th and Jeffrey, everybody. That's right.
80th and Jeffrey at 11:30 a.m. Come and join us for an hour of
My tale about my, well, not my tale, my testimony about about my weight loss journey, which was really also mental and emotional and spiritual as well as physical. You posted, of course, her handle is if I eat sugar, that hurts me. Processed sugar is not the way to go. Not only does it stop weight loss, it just makes you unhealthy, less healthy. Talk to me about the dangers of sugar. Dr. Atkins got into a lot of trouble with that about 50, 60 years ago, but now he's being proved correct.
Exactly. And to your point, that's the thing. We do not think about the impact of sugar in our body. Meaning, I just want to briefly talk about where sugar is allowed in the body. So we have sugar near our spinal cord. Okay, so on that track from our brain to our spinal cord, there's sugar along that track, and that's acceptable, right? However, the problem is the sugar good for, like, let's say, your gut? Is it good for your liver? Is it good for other areas of your body? And unfortunately, the answer is no. Sugar, unfortunately, has a capability to be able to turn into fat in the body. When it turns into fat, that fat then increases your risk for cholesterol. It can then, cause organs to have like fat around them. We know sugar, or an abundance of sugar, the negative effects. It's linked to Alzheimer's disease. We know that sugar is almost like a drug, meaning that it is very addictive. Mm-hmm. And so it can make you depressed. It's able to appetite control because it's such a stimulant within the body that it does have those addictive properties in it, which is why even our body, when our body is at its sickest, it's in a way it craves sugar. And when you crave sugar, it's making the body even more sick. It's not to say our body should be salty, but when we think about, let's say, the tears that we cry, right? Have anybody ever tasted their tears and they taste the it continues to have a hard time to break down within the body and tends to interrupt our already set cycles within the body. So when we know that our body has this normal state and we're putting in these complex, carbs instead of ones that are simple, such as the ones we get inside of our fruits and we will get inside of our veggies that will be able to help us, it tends to harm our body because it's not broken down enough. And that process of it being broken down is a problem. Santita, I also want to say that 9 times out of 10, when you see sugar come in something, sugar is not by itself. It's coming with some other preservatives and some other additives. And 9 times out of 10, those other additives and those other things that are added to it has negative effects on the body. So not to bash any particular brand or anything like that. It's being aware that the ingredients, the fight for the ingredients to be on the back of a label was a political fight. Now that the ingredients are on the back of the job as consumers to look up what are the side effects of. When they say you are what you eat, that is a real thing. So it's important that if you see something on there that you cannot pronounce, you can type it in though. So you can type in what are the of so many preservatives and additives can't be in the root cause of some of the health issues that we have.
You know what? Thank you for that. Because, I recall almost 20 years ago when the World Health Organization launched a war on obesity, their chief foe, the group that fought them the hardest, was the American sugar lobby. I'll never, ever forget that. And all the untruths, the lies that they told about the Atkins program, which everybody is now doing in some form or another. That's what keto is a phase. The Atkins program really has 4 different stages. I know because I was his patient in New York, lost a lot of weight with him, and he completely changed the way that I live. And I thank God for him too. And I thank God for you, Dr. Shanita Knighton. Hey, Dr. Nina, HEYDRNINA. To your health, everybody. Let's talk about this State of the Union address. What did you think of it? What did you think of it? Call me at 773-763-9278. Board op, take me away. Henry, do you mind if I use your name on the air?
Powered by ComEd. ComEd is
Feel free, no worries at all.
Oh, no, because everybody doesn't like that. So I had to ask. That's why I called you board op.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay, so I can say Henry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, real quick, just to clarify, apologies if you already said this, but are we getting Attorney Larry Conley and Reverend Attorney Jeanette Wilson for the Will do.
Thank you so much.
Of course, let's see how people resolve for the just. Report.
CPT 820. You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
Okay. Shanina, are you still there?
And for tonight, mostly clouds with rain likely, possibly some thunder showers as well, low of 37. For Thursday, rain looks to continue with breezy winds turning to the west, but again have some thunder showers as well, high of 47. Colder Friday, chance for snow, high of 35. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Michael Carroll. Right now, it's 27. At WCPT, you can text us at the same number you used to call us, 773-763-9278. Thanks to our texting sponsor, Camp Kupagani, celebrating 15 years of growing kinder, smarter, and happier kids. Give the child in your life a summer of empowerment, challenge, and fun. Camp Space fills up fast. Register.
She has been answered right away. So
Okay.
let me know.
All right. Thank
We
you.
have about 90 seconds till air, but I'm going to keep trying.
Okay. Well, just put it in my ear because I have to turn the phone upside down.
More time in range.
Right.
Painful finger pricks.
And
You
that
check your
just-
blood sugar at least 4 times per day and inject insulin at least 3 times per day or use an insulin pump and have private insurance or Medicare, you might be eligible for CGM with little or no cost to you. Call U.S. Medical Supply today for a free benefits check. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill Medicare or your insurance directly. Call now and say goodbye to finger pricks.
800-417-0851. 800-417-0851. 800-417-0851. That's 800-417-0851.
Early Alzheimer's diagnosis.
30 seconds.
Parkinson.
And when my level wasn't on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan. Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family. If you or your family are noticing changes,
All right, she didn't pick up.
That's all right. Then we'll try and get her in the next break, in the next block.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. It is 6:34 Central Standard Time. I want to know what your thoughts are about the State of the Union. You really want to see that happen anymore? I mean, really? And I appreciated the president's boldness, really daring the Republicans to come aboard. Do you support Medicare or Medicaid? Yes or no? Up or down? Bottom line. If the program is about to become insolvent, then put money in it. So speech last night. We're going to talk about that in a minute. The response to the address, and she made a brilliant case for working class people. We don't talk about working class people. We stay on the middle class, but working class people, really the working poor, the people from whom she and we are descended. So let's talk about that. And then, of course, Reverend Jeanette Wilson from Rainbow Push reminds you that on Saturday at the New Beginnings Church, Pastor Corey Brooks Church, the rooftop pastor between 66th and 67th on Cottage Grove. That's where that magnificent church is. We will be there at 10 o'clock. Call me at 773-763-9278. I want to know what your thoughts are. But our special guest, who now family on the show, Kedron Franklin from Black Men Built, professional organizer in Memphis, Tennessee. Indeed, he is part of this cadre of organizers and activists who have been combing the tapes, finding out who was involved in Kyrie Nichols' death. And thank goodness for them, because we have found out so much, but we're finding out a lot of things. And of course, Tyre Nichols' parents were at the State of the Union address last night. And I want to ask you, because, you know, not just Tyre Nichols and the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, but just overall, because you advocate for mental health, for economic justice, and so many things through Black Men Build and the work that you're doing. Tyre Nichols is one issue right now, but you advocate for a lot of them. Let's start with Tyre and police reform, and just overall your impressions of the State of the Union speech. Kedron Franklin.
Yes, good morning, good morning. Yes, have well become a part of the family.
Yes. So were you impressed with this, or I mean, what did you think?
The speech toted the line, and I have to give applause to the president for toting the line in a way that still shows a little backbone, right? Like, you don't have to make vulgarious threats. You don't have to push the Republicans, and he's doing it charmingly, right? And so I do have to give him credit for that, being able to, at least, like I said, have backbone to challenge the Republican Party in a more wholesome way, right? Nothing. Some years ago for SEIU, the Service Employment Industry Union, right? We're working directly with working class people, right? Poor working class people, right? And so I really, like I said, I got the bubble guts when I heard him speak about unions and the PRO Act, right? Because again, you have these corporations who CEO makes $30,000 an hour, and I'm struggling to barely make $30,000 a year, right? So yeah, we need those unions in place to help ensure that the people who are creating the products, packaging the products, shipping the products also pay, fairly and well, just as much as the person whose face is on the product, right? Whose face is pushing the sales, or face is pushing the business. And so I can really appreciate him for that. I also can appreciate him for like this Medicare piece, right? Big Pharma, challenge Big Pharma. You really help because that's a large industry that like I said, impacts a lot of Americans. And so to see him speak on taxing and taxation of the capitalists, right? The rich. Other paths from complications due to diabetes, right? And so, again, things like that impact a lot. If my family, didn't have to spend so much for treatment, maybe they could have done some extra, like, physical therapy money, so I can get out and just take a trip and clear my mind. I'm not stressing so much about this health issue, right? So I can really appreciate that, but it also made me think about if y'all can cap it off down, $15, extra dollars, y'all pretty much pay for that, right? So let's think more and finish the job and think more about like free Medicare for all, right? So yeah, it brought up a lot of things. They're thinking about the Tyree Nichols, the George Floyd Act, and pieces that they want to put in for like Tyree Nichols, right? It's cool to stop the chokeholds, the strangleholds, and also judge that too many cops are coming into contact with citizens too frequently. And so there's something that we've been working on in Tennessee, pushing around like how the for-profit and trucking act law is also being utilized for like our personal private use, where I can utilize my private vehicle, my personal. So just a preset.
Keedron Franklin, everybody. Black Men Build. Black Men Build. Indeed, he's one of the organizers who's really helped to expose and keep the Tyree Nichols story alive so that we can have justice in policing, everybody. Call us at 773-763-9278. We have got you, Aaron Connolly. Before I get to you, Pastor Wilson. Aaron Connolly, I know when he mentioned diabetes and police reform and we still don't have voting rights, coverage. But I know when he mentioned this issue of healthcare, and when the president talked about capping the cost of insulin, what was your reaction to that?
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Santita. And thank you for having me on the show. I've missed being on with you in the morning. And I was so heartened to hear a call out about insulin costs by the President of the United States at the State of the Union address. And one of the, I think, really key starting points in the speech when he talked about what they've done and what they need to do more of, right? Mm-hmm. And he started this theme of the evening by basically saying, we need to finish what we started. And Democrats did start by capping insulin costs for seniors over the age of 65 at $35. The other piece that I thought was exceptional and significant in the sense that he directly called out Big Pharma in this portion of the speech. And he got explicit about how much insulin costs, which is the sixth most expensive liquid in the world. It costs about $10 to make, and they charge upwards of $300 to $500 per vial unit of insulin for folks that need it to live every day. Now, that was, he's explicitly stating what these corporate pharma profits are for everyone that is listening to the State of the Union. And not everybody hears that portion of it, right? They think, insulin, it is expensive. People should have to pay for it. It's a medication they need. I have to pay for my heart medicine, for example. But this nuanced portion by the president, I know, spoke to every diabetic and people who love the diabetics in their life or people with diabetes. And I think it brings great hope for a movement, a healthcare or I hope folks that are at the budget of not only our union, but of everyday Americans. And the president was able to hone in on a few key pieces and say, I hear you. We're doing better, but I know we're not done. I see that you see we're not done. And I'm not saying we are, but I'm right here with you. And that was, I think, a positive moment. It was a rallying cry. It was a reality check where the president didn't come in and say we've solved everything. And sometimes these speeches feel like that. But he said, I see you. I see the struggle, and I know we haven't fixed everything. And that meant a lot, too, that accountability piece.
Reverend Jeanette Wilson, before I get to the callers, your thoughts about what you saw last night. Police reform is uppermost in our minds, of course, because of Tyree Nichols. But, we're looking at that and crime and the economy. We're looking at all the American issues as we're about to run into this mayoral race on February 28th, and perhaps
had when he was president and had to figure out how he could preserve the union. So I thought that it was a well-crafted speech. It touched a lot of the bases. I don't think he promised to do anything. He gave us the hope that, we have to finish what we started. And the question is, what are you going to do? Because you have a United States House of Representatives that is controlled by a body of people that are not with you. And that was evident by the heckling and the comments, which was extremely unprofessional. I thought he handled it well. He did not respond negatively to those Republicans who were yelling in the well of the Congress. However, I think the point now is he hit all the topics, faces that he could talk about in the audience that put a face on what he was talking about, whether it was health care, violence, a woman's right to choose. And he talked about labor. He hit all of the things that, and even education in some
very broad stroke. I think that now as it relates to voting rights, as it relates to every by executive order that really Medicare, Medicaid, and all of the different things, the Title I issues. He launched a campaign to provide for to Tyrese's parents, and each time, you could feel his heart. Now I want to feel his action. And I think that that's what we have to concentrate on. You're trained to give great speeches. The question is, will you be a great leader by action? People will know what you stand for based on what you do. And that's what we have to push for. Executive orders. Remember, initially, executive orders until you can move to get legislation to sustain it. But at least during his term of office, we will be able to see voting rights. We will be able to see federally protected policing controls. There's so much he can do. He has the power of the pen. He needs to use it.
He needs to use it. I mean, because that is the way that this works, everybody. It's as simple as that. He has that power. He has that power, and he should use it. He should use it. Don't just bring these people there. I think that's great and good. But Tyree Nichols' parents and, oh my goodness, and all of these people we've lost, Philando Castile, and so many, George Floyd. We need action, executive action, and that could happen right now. Asa Lee, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you so much. And I tuned in just a little late, and the gentleman was talking. I thought he said something about Biden was lying. I'm not sure. The thing that Biden was saying was he was lying.
I don't think so. Well, hold on. Let me know before you continue. I want you to make your comment, but I want to get that clear. Kedron, is that what you?
No, I didn't.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No, ma'am. Just wanted to clear that up for you. Okay.
I heard. Yeah, I'm sorry. Nation. And so I just wanted to point that out, that I believe that he was not intentionally, trying to deceive America. And I appreciate that. Shows like yours, Santita, what the president did. I thought it was a wonderful speech.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he will.
And all of these people who were bringing the concerns of potential Black soldiers who said, I don't want to fight in the Second World War because I'm being treated, what I'm fighting, what you want me to fight overseas is what I'm fighting right here. You got to be kidding me. And so that's why support busing. He has supported police over people's rights. I've seen him do that in our lifetime. A couple of weeks in the U.S. Senate and presented a police officer's people, because when you walk into those offices, they have the people Well, I mean, some people do. Like, for example, with ACA, the way it was initially written, if you did not sign up for the Affordable start reading the stuff ourselves. Don't you depend upon anyone to tell you what's in anything. With your husband, your partner, your children, you check up under that hood. Like, no, wait a minute, I want to know.
Right. Country. Uh, well, what we are supposed to be as Americans and to show the world. So I thought that about his speech.
Connie Coleman used to say, it works when you're working. She could teach all the principles of truth, but if you did not apply them, shame on you. This is not going to work for you. I'm telling you, it's not going to work. And I think that we have to understand how the system of government, Attorney Connolly, when we get on the other side, Keedron Franklin and Reverend Wilson, I think we have to help people to understand that unless you are an activist, unless you are active, unless you are organizing, Mr. Frank, what it is that they want and need. That's what they do. The people have to do the same thing. It's just that your advocates are Rainbow Push, NAACP, National Action Network, Urban League, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you need to take care of them so that they are not beholden to anyone but you. Think about that, everybody. Think about it. Let's talk about the State of the Union speech. What did you hear? What did you think of Republicans and their pushback. I have to tell you, Reverend Wilson, I'm such a fan of the comments that I see, the Q&A that I see in British Parliament. Oh my gosh, every Sunday night, I love to watch it, but you don't want to see people be rude and unkind. So I want you to call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT on the Santita Jackson Show. Let's talk about the State of the Union speech and what you is actually. Back in just a moment. Thank you, beautiful people. Oh.
You join us on the radio.
Yep. I like to bring him on as much as I can. I don't know if I'll have space now. Yeah, because he's got to bring on CK.
Macular degeneration at an early stage, and that there are new therapies that can help. With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
But see if he can join. That would be great. Sure. Oh, Aaron? You know Attorney Connolly. Oh, okay, good.
There's a lot going on this morning.
Is he talking with you right now? Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay, great. Can you, Henry? Can you bring the radio down, please? Bring the feed down a bit.
Yes.
Thank you, Attorney Connolly. What I wanted you to do, the reason I reached out to you about yesterday, and I need you to do it today. If you can give us like 3 or 4 questions, because we're trying to, and I want you to participate in, as we're shaping up these questions for Saturday.
Absolutely.
So if you would send that to me as soon as you can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the questions that you think need to be asked at this forum on Saturday. Okay. And if you would also punch up the Congresswoman's remarks.
Yeah.
Okay, please do that.
Absolutely.
Because no. Because I'm going to reach out to. Let me know. I always. I don't want to call her. I know I have her AA's number. I believe. Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to reach out to. Would you? Yeah, please. And could you? Because she sent me a text, girl. I'm just trying to keep up, and I have to put. I really need to start putting slash. By folks so I can remember, because it just gets to be a lot. But because I want to get her on the show soon.
Yeah.
So she can give us an update. Yeah, no, because I have an open door, because I want her to come on regularly just to tell us what's going on, because it'll help her to stay in touch with the people, all the time. So. Okay. Star. Thank you. And I big meetings today. So I'm going to PDF or something. So not a Google Docs, because that gets, well, so people can make notes. People can make notes, and then we can go on and get through them. Okay, so let us get into this part of the show, and then we will be. Is CK up?
I'm up.
Oh, okay, CK. You know what? I'm going to introduce the panel. I don't know if you've met Keedron Franklin. He's one of the young, he is a professional organizer. He's with Black Men Build, union organizer, brilliant young man. He's out of Memphis, Tennessee. He's part of this small county pushing Nichols' story. Preston Hemphill was not presented to us by the police. It was the work of the organizers and activists on the ground who combed those tapes and found out who he was, and then they exposed him.
60 seconds.
Stand by. Okay. But I'm gonna, of course, come to you for your overview, and then you've got Dr. Bob Starks on, but I'll let you know who's on. I'm sorry I did not send that to you, but I can't do it. Yeah, I'm holding the phone, so, honey, I got to do this upside down. But Dr. Bob Starks, Jeanette Wilson, and of course Aaron Connolly, who's with you every week on Legal Q&A, and Keedron Franklin.
And we're still staying topic, or I'm just pivoting to anything.
Yeah, no. Remember, you said you wanted to do State of the Union. You said, that's it. But there's, different issues in it that people want to amplify.
Absolutely. Okay.
Like Aaron was talking about, the cap on diabetes medicine, on insulin, which is important.
Second time, stand by.
Sure. George Floyd, Justice and Policing, stand by. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show on February 8th, Wednesday, 2023. And some of them were not. And so we're going to talk about that. But, if you see the British Parliament traditions, they kind of go at it. I wish we had strip away some of the patina of of agreement, not decorum, not. I don't want us to be rude. I don't want people to hurt one another and call people out of their names. You don't need to do that. When I was a child, when you call someone a liar, that was blaspheming them. That was like likened to a curse word. You never call someone a liar. You might say they were saying an untruth. So I don't know how we've gotten away from that. But that having been said, I want to know what your thoughts are about the State of the Union address. And more than that, more than the address, what's next? What's next in a divided Congress? How will the president mostly sunny. In the NBA, congrats go to LeBron James. He is now the highest scoring professional NBA player of all time, eclipsing the record of the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a record that stood for 40 years. Congratulations to you, LeBron James, 38,390 points. And to think that he might play for another 2, 3, 4, 5 years, if not longer. Oy, ow, wow. Talk about untouchable. Well, people are saying that he's the greatest of all time. What do you think about that? What do you think? I think everybody's great in their own era, but he is great now. His greatness, you cannot deny. Just think of all of the greatness that we've been able to witness in our life moment. It's been a great, great moment in all of sports, and our hat goes off to LeBron James. His whole family were there, and they were able to do that in Los Angeles. Home team, just fantastic. Some of the seats went for as much as $92,000. Thank you, TNT, for putting it on TV. Thank you. Love you. In the NBA, the Grizzlies 104, the Bulls 89. The Nuggets 146, the Timberwolves 112. In the NHL, the Wild will be playing the Stars tonight, but last night, what do you think about that? Call me at 773-763-9278. He called attention to veterans, to police reform, to infrastructure. Even the Republicans who voted against infrastructure, those who don't want to vote for police reform, justice and policing. He said, join me, as they were in the presence of Tyree. Can't wait to hear your thoughts about this on Legal Q&A with CK. Of course, CK Hoffler is with us, along with Dr. Bob Starks and Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Attorney Aaron Connolly, and Keedron Franklin out of Memphis, Tennessee, from Black Men Build. The death tolls from the devastating earthquake in Syria and Turkey, more than 11,000 people and counting, everybody. Thousands of buildings have been destroyed. People are trapped in the rubble. 100 aftershocks have struck the region. God bless the people of Syria and Turkey. The U.S. Navy released new photos of sailors recovering the suspected Chinese spy balloon that U.S. fighter jets shot down over the Atlantic Ocean on Saturday. The Chinese say, give us the debris back. Days are not from South and Central America. The greatest number of visa overstays are not from India. They're not from Africa. They are from, Canada, our neighbors to the selling your home, or if you want to purchase a new home and would like to save a lot of money, thousands of dollars, you dollars when you buy or sell a home. Let me tell you how it works. When a team of affiliated realtor sells your home, they'll reduce their fee up to 1%. That is thousands of dollars. When a Team Hochberg affiliated realtor helps you to purchase a home, you will receive up to 1% of their commission as a closing cost credit. Thousands of dollars again, everybody. Team Hochberg will credit their loan origination fee, and their affiliated attorney will reduce their fee. Again, thousands of dollars. There's a couple that saved close to $9,000 using this Perks at Work program when they sold their home and when they purchased a new one. So why don't you call them, everybody? Call them. Call them. It's 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID, or go to 56david.com and look on their website so it can make some sense to you. I want you to call them at 855-56-DAVID, 855-56-DAVID. You deserve a break today. And I don't mean at the big golden arches. I mean on purchasing a new home and on selling yours. Work with Team Hochberg. I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Everybody, let's talk about the State of the Union address. President Biden said a lot of good things. And he was gracious. He congratulated the new Speaker of the House, congratulated this new Congress. There's so much, and he took incoming fire. But he has a lot of experience, but it says something about him that he was so gracious about it all. But, when you're in the big seat, you got to know you're going to take the incoming fire. This is not a game for children, everybody. This is politics, and it's tough. C.K. Hoffler, we have got a lot to talk about today. We've been talking with Keidron Franklin. Of course, he's been on the show now. I told him now he's family. And what have we been talking about? We initially talked with him. He's a professional organizer out of Memphis, Tennessee. He's with Black Men Build. He's part of this small cadre of organizers and activists who combed those tapes and found the Preston Hemphill and these other actors, these other Reverend Jeanette Wilson, of course, from Rainbow Push, prominent pastor. And of course, we have got attorney Erin Connolly, regular on this segment, a brilliant political organizer. In fact, she's going to give us some information, CK, because, she and Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, who gave the Democratic response last night. We can't wait to get the background story on that. I'm so proud of Congresswoman Ramirez. And Dr. Bob Starks, preeminent political scientist. Of course, he's going to be holding class today. Association, the largest and oldest Black Bar Association. I can hear something in the background, everybody. The largest and oldest Black Bar Association in the world, more than 65,000 lawyers. CK, take it away. We've got to hear about Congresswoman Ramirez, and we, of course, have to hear Dr. Starks ask us these questions so we can all take some notes. But talk to me. What did you think about the address last night? Girl, look, I felt like I was back in Lock Hall at Howard University. I said, here we go. She's got me.
Well, good morning, Santita, to our magnificent panel and our audience. I thought that President Biden did a pretty good job last night. I don't have very high expectations of State of Union addresses because I feel that, particularly the second one, the first one I have higher expectations, but the second one usually takes place after the midterm elections. And given that that's the timing of it, the president is typically setting things up for his reelection. And so I think that President Biden, from the standpoint of addressing a broad-based set of issues, I think he did pretty well. His tone was, as you said, Santita, very gracious. But underlying all of that graciousness and the appropriate tone lies really a very, very, very significant country in crisis. We are in crisis. And so the heckling that has become, and it wasn't as bad as you said in the British Parliament. The British Parliament, they almost come gross. I mean, it's almost, there are shows about how the British Parliament operates. And we come from a British tradition, but our systems of government are so different that we don't need to evolve into that. There was quite a bit of disrespect, but we saw that during the Obama years, during his State of the Union addresses. So we've become more accustomed to that. It doesn't make it right. In fact, I think it's wrong. But I do think I'm tired of this refrain, saying that there's so many Republicans who say openly, oh, yes, we agree, there needs to be policing reform. But yet when it comes down to the brass tacks and to negotiating real policing reform,
we see that they come up, very short of wanting real police reform. It was very emotional, of course, to have Tyree Nichols' parents there. That was a very strong moment. And I think President Biden's comments surrounding the fact that many of the people in that room don't know what it's like to be black and brown and to have that talk. And it's not just a talk, it's daily talks with our children about being out by the police. So I think it was a say that. We knew he was going to say that. We knew they were going to be there. I expected that to happen. Did it move the needle in terms of Republicans? Absolutely, positively not. Did I expect it to move the needle? Absolutely, positively not. From a legal standpoint, all politics, they say, are local. All policing politics are now local. And so I'm delighted that we have someone from Memphis who combed those records and who made a difference along with a group of people, because what we saw in Memphis is a reflection of how all politics are local, all policing is local. And even if we had the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act in place, the outcome of what those 5 officers and then some did to Mr. Nichols. But I'd be interested to hear what our expert out of Tennessee has to say about that, because that Scorpion unit was not going to be concerned at all about any federal, state, local laws. They were going to do what they wanted to do. They were going to act like barbarians, which is, in my impression, how they acted. And they were going to, they were determined to do exactly what they did, unfortunately.
Well, CK, because it's culture deep. I mean, because CK, the police killed more people last year than they have since they've been measuring the killing of civilians by police. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. After George Floyd, I mean, y'all didn't get this. But hold on, let's hear from Kedron. And then, of course, we've got Ron, who was called in because people want to weigh in on the State of the Union. And, of course, Dr. Bob Starks, Attorney Connolly, and Reverend Jeanette Wilson. But Kedron, the barrister has called you to the stand, my friend.
Yes, and she is preaching this morning. The truth and nothing but truth
Yes.
this morning. And I agree. It's why I agree, right? The George Floyd Act and the part that particularly they want to add with Tyree Nichols, again, that would have stopped the Tyree Nichols. We have to figure out how to keep them apart. Mental work and our social emotional awareness and not judge, they should be doing the same because they have more responsibility moving through these streets, right? And so, again, you're right. I would love to see more reform around until we can create, right, these community safety departments first. Units like the Scorpion unit, but they call it multi-agency gang unit and organized crime unit. Watching, the movement, and it's not just in Memphis, it's all over because I've been in D.C. speaking at the House, right, around how the feds send money locally to these municipalities to watch, just random people like myself because they consider black guys. They're not watching protesters. What are they doing? Have extra money just to have extra time to be on the clock just to mess with people for no reason. So again, figuring out how do we keep, a traffic stop just a traffic stop. If you have a criminal investigation, then you need to, go by the protocols to conduct a criminal investigation outside of pulling someone over for a busted tail light and then trying to take them down for a marijuana stick, right?
Mm. You know, CK, we've got Dr. Bob Starks, of course. He is one of the preeminent political scientists um, in the world. Of course, he has worked very closely with Reverend Jackson and Reverend Frank Watkins for, wow, about 50 years. But he's also a prominent and preeminent academician. And before we get to Attorney Aaron Connolly and Reverend Jeanette Wilson, um, and Ron, I promise you, Ron, our caller, we're going to get to you. Yeah, I think it's important to hear CK from Dr. Starks because we've been talking about policing, right? But we got this mayoral election. I mean, this just and these are issues we're all dealing with the same issue, CK.
No, no, absolutely. 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 So, Doctor, what do you have to say about all of this in the State of the Union address?
Well, I thought this was one of the better speeches that I've ever heard from President Biden. I thought he was low key. He didn't exaggerate. I thought he was on point. I just wish he had spent more time talking about voting rights. That he talked about moment. So I think, however, your guest is absolutely correct. And policing around this country. So I think we have to continue to fight for voting rights and police reform. Now, and I want to go to my question today, and that is from the young man from Memphis. Has this Tyree Nichols affair, has it changed the mood of black people in Memphis, as well as the rest of Tennessee? I mean, I'd like to, again, get you to be more finite with your question. The mood in which way, right? Because the political mood, I mean, so Tennessee and Memphis is the only blue part of Tennessee, right? And even in Memphis, we have what you have. We have it's a progressive plantation at a state, right? That's why you always find. Yeah. I mean, sometimes people are just, because of how life drives us, right? We have so many people that have to work 2, 3 jobs just to be able to make ends meet, right? So they're political. They don't have a chance to participate in that political, aspect. But they see how it impacts us. They see how it affects us. But also, man, I can't go protest. I can't go stand in line. I have to be at work. I have to provide for my children, right? So there's this piece around like how we are driven into poverty, how they also extract us out of like the political process that we're way down trying to make things meet, right? And I'm loving to see more younger people be politicized and awakened. So there are a younger generation.
We said yes. You're right. Uh-huh. Okay. Thank you. And there you go. See CK on the Santita Jackson Show. Of course, you can catch her on Court TV. Can't wait till we get up to the other side so you can tell us when this week. Stay right there. More of the Santita Jackson Show. Henry, take me away. Okay, you all keep talking because we're on Facebook Live. Although my screen has been freezing for the past 2 days. It's just crazy. Come on, y'all. Stop it. Stop messing with me.
Well, I want to ask Jeanette. Jeanette, is this whole incident in Memphis, has it energized the community of Black ministers to organize even more and become more active? That's, you know, I saw where some of the are not in the prophetic tradition. They're in the priestly tradition, which means activism is not a natural part of their DNA. The reason you saw Bishop Henry Williamson, he was a former chapter president. He is an activist. He is a prophetic voice. And so he organized, I'm sure, a number of clergy in Memphis and around Tennessee. I think at this point it is time for us to call, as Reverend Jackson has done, a national clergy summit to look at that police-initiated violence, community violence, wish for voting rights, and some of the issues that President Biden outlined in his speech. We got to do about it. And the clergy can, the largest body, second to only the women's organization, CK. If women's clergy start focusing on how we're going to implement the nice sounding words that President Biden issued, it will make a difference. But I will talk to Reverend today because we do need to. But, you know, next week it's going to be somebody else. So somebody else is going to be killed in this way next week. But the clergy uniting, I guess, the Tyree Nichols was just so complete. There were so many different dynamics to that. Black police officers, that hopefully the clergy will feel more incentivized because the clergy can stimulate the base and get people interested.
Well, you know, I think that's why they've been co-opted.
Showed us it's a blue culture. It's not just black and white. It is a blue culture that even though I'm black, when I get into that culture, I feel I have to support the culture, not my people.
But you know, but that's why we have to be careful with our pastors to make sure that they're not co-opted. You know, because Billy Graham sought to co-opt Reverend Martin Luther King, and those same forces came from my father 50 years ago. I mean, they offer you huge sums of money, and they will tell you that they will make you the spiritual voice of the age. That's what on more than one occasion. If you would step away from politics, if you would step away from that which is political. It's even bigger than a mayor. I mean, there's corporate church. And these folks are on TV all day long. There is, you know, God bless them. It's just, there's a lot to this. Okay, CK, we're coming in. Hold on. CK, you got Aaron, you got Jeanette.
Jackson Show.
Hey everybody, Legal Q&A with CK on the Santita Jackson Show. We've got Dr. Bob Starks who's questioning us, holding class. I told you, taking me back to Douglas Hall or Locke Hall at Howard University. I'm like, well, because when I was there, Dr. Mary Frances Berry was in the history department. So, I mean, just an embarrassment of riches at all of these HBCUs, but I digress. Kind of, sort of. And then, of course, we've got Attorney Aaron Connolly and, of course, Attorney Jeanette Wilson. We will be Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Esquire. We'll be hearing from you all. But CK, before we have to take out our pens and take notes and dig into this Google real quick before we get a question from Dr. Starks, we have got Ron who wants to talk about the State of the Union and Governor.
And lies, and she spent most of it talking about herself. Where's the rebuttal?
Well, I think she's running. I think she's running for president. I mean, honestly, because did you see the Democratic rebuttal from Congresswoman Delia Ramirez? She's the first Latina elected to the U.S. House of Representatives from the Midwest in the history of the Republic. Did you see her response?
Yes.
What did you think about what she said?
I agree with everything she was saying.
Okay. So what is your takeaway from the State of the Union address?
Yes. Here's the thing. I listen to everybody. I learned a long time ago. If you want to hear the truth, listen to everybody that's talking. I listen to right-wing radio.
Yes.
I listen to progressive radio. And I listen to the news here in Rockford. And the news here in Rockford is a joke. The media has failed the public. It's been become, they don't report it properly. The TV news here in Rockford, if you don't have cable, which I don't, if you don't have cable, the antenna news is just, okay, they have a headline broadcast, and they talk about the weather 3 times, and it's not any kind of dramatic thing going on with the weather.
Well, that's why, remember, this is corporate media you're talking about. And that's why having independent media that ranges from the progressive to even the right wing, I think having independent media that's not owned by the corporations, that's important, because if you're owned by the corporations, you're going to tell their story, or you're going to tell the story their way. And so that's really important. But I'm glad that you listened to it all, Mr. Ron, because that is the key. That is the key. Sending you much love. I gotta get to the rest of this panel, which you have been a part of for a few minutes, and you need to go on and grab the audio on this one and tell all your friends about it. Sending you much love. Thank you so much, CK. Of course, Aaron, Attorney Aaron Connolly, and is one of Congresswoman Ramirez's advisors. I mean, they have been working together when she had this improbable campaign, and when she went up against the machine and won, and now she's in Congress. CK, she gave a tremendous statement from. Don't you think?
She did, and you're reading my mind. I'm going to call him Aaron next. We know she's a brilliant political strategist, lawyer, mother, healthcare specialist.
Yes.
And but I wanted to hear particularly Aaron's response, Aaron's comments, not just to the State of the Union's address, but also to the rebuttal.
and her thoughts on the connection with the upcoming mayoral race in Chicago.
Ooh.
Ooh, well, there's a lot going on. I just want to say a huge shout out to Congresswoman Delia Ramirez for her Working Families Party response to the Republican response. So I just want to make clear for everybody listening who hasn't seen her response that this was a rebuttal to Sarah Huckabee Sanders and her Republican response to Joe Biden, which seemed like rehearsed and reused talking points that weren't really a response at all. What we did hear from Congresswoman Ramirez, who I want to note is 39. She represents a new generation in Congress and really has a working family experience in her life that many of you heard about last night. Her family struggles with health care. The fact that her parents are both seniors that are still working to make ends meet into what should be their retirement, right? And what we heard from Congresswoman Ramirez is really what we hear when we're at the doors with voters, is a vision for the future in English and in Spanish. I want to note that her response was given in full in Spanish as well, which is important when we're speaking to the whole country. And I know little girls across the country don't often get to see that in a primetime setting where there's a young Latina who is a congresswoman speaking about the issues that their family is worried about inflation, about healthcare, about safety and education, and that, yes, things are getting better. I think what Congresswoman Ramirez said was very true and really echoed what the president said. So anybody pushing back and saying this isn't helpful or, we don't need a rebuttal to their rebuttal, it really was a clarifying moment. And it brought down to earth for me that I think the president and progressives have an opportunity to really be on the same page here moving forward and acknowledge that we're making, we got to finish it. And what Congresswoman Ramirez talked about is related to housing security, economic security, job security, and making the lives of working Americans who are feeling the stress at the pump or the grocery store, making that easier for them, just a little bit, doing those common sense things and not creating a system where, Democrats aren't acknowledging the realities that everyday Americans face. And I think both the progressive wing of the party and the president and the administration are taking both of those things seriously and are really in a position to be able to build. What I saw from the president, and I think what we heard from many progressives as well, is, there's a frustration with new House leadership. We saw the president last night really hold his own and show the contrast in spirit, in character, and in the willingness to listen and get things done. And I think there were some Republicans, and you could kind of look at the audience and see who those folks might be, who are willing to come back to the table and say, we do have to get some things done. And I came to Washington to make the lives of Americans better, and these folks did too, and I think we can do it together. So I was really hopeful.
Mm.
And just very quickly about the mayoral race, because I know, and Santita, I know you all are so engaged in covering that. And I just would like to hear, because I believe all politics are becoming so local, and they always have been local, but what about the local connection based on State of the Union remarks by the president?
So we saw one of our mayoral candidates in the Capitol, in Congressman Chuy Garcia, hearing the State of the Union address, and someone who's been an important progressive ally in Congress and who's been a great leader for the Progressive Caucus in general. So I think that's one aspect. He was not part of the mayoral debate that happened last night, but the nation's issues are Chicago issues, and we heard a lot of them last night. But what I'm anxious to hear this Saturday and from the Rainbow Push Coalition Forum is how these candidates are going to take these national issues and make Chicago a leader, a bright blue spot in the middle of the Midwest where we are pushing more progressive policies, where we are taking advantage of the majorities that we have and really building a safer, more inclusive,
an equitable city that can take things to the next level. We have an enormous opportunity in blue parts of the country to double down on the successes we've seen, to strengthen things like women's reproductive rights, to strengthen our democracy outreach, to make sure our local elections are functioning in the best way possible, and being innovative in all different ways. So I look forward to this weekend to hear how the candidates are going to take what the president said and bring it back down to Chicago.
Well, Santita, we Reverend Jeanette Wilson wears so many hats based on her extraordinary contributions that she's made over decades in activism, in law, in the ministry. And Reverend Wilson, over the break, you were talking about whether you posed a question about whether you felt that as a result of Tyre Nichols' murder, whether the faith-based community has been energized. And how do you tie all of that together with the State of the Union remarks? And what were your impressions from last night?
Well, I think several things. Clergy, we're called in a prophetic tradition, really. And if we are true to our calling, we are responsible to begin to fight for and address the needs of the people. If we're in the Jesus model, Jesus changed public policy at every level. When he healed the man at the pool, he said, get up and walk. People were getting healed. A whole bunch of people were able to get healed, but this one man could not. So we have to look at the least of these. And in the tradition of Jesus, when you listen to all that Biden was addressing, that's really frames what the clergy should be fighting for: better health care. We have to fight for safety for every community. We have to fight for voting rights for everyone so that everyone has equal opportunity, fight for women's rights. And so, the list goes on. And I think that it was really a call to action for the faith community. We have the power to press every candidate. They come to our churches, or at least they try to. They ask us for support. Then they must provide for the people at every level, whether in the federal government or state government or the county or the city. And part of the challenge that all of these mayoral candidates have is, what are you going to do at the city, local level to change the police culture, to change police violence, because it's present in every major city, suburb. And so how are you going to make education available, a high-quality public education available to every child? How are you going to make sure that our healthcare systems function in every community? And you don't have women driving several miles while pregnant trying to find a maternity care center. And, so the list goes on. And that our challenge is to be the lobbyists on behalf of the people. We are to lobby for them, for better health care, better education, better communities, more investment in the neighborhood. That's our calling. And, we can give better speeches than perhaps the president, because we know how to close. She did pretty good last night, however. Because you always want to close these people with, this is where we're going. Okay, now you tell me how we're going to get there, sir.
Well, all righty. So that was certainly something there, too. No, I would agree. I think what everybody's echoing is that President Biden did a very strong job last night. Mm-hmm. The question is, what are we going to do, and how are we going to, as in our communities, our respective communities, given that I believe our politics are local, and we don't have, and President Biden has done, there are a lot of things he has done. There are a lot of things he still needs to do. Mm-hmm. And he can do via executive orders and the like. He can go further, in my impression. But there are a lot of things that he's done, and he underscored those things. Mm-hmm. But we are in crisis. We are in crisis.
Absolutely.
Whether we have Chinese balloons flying over us or other things, devastating immigration policies, the people being killed every single day at the hands of the police, women's reproductive rights, voting rights, voting suppression, all of these things are still at the forefront of what's happening and on the minds of people. Not to mention how some people just can't even afford to get up in the morning and go to work.
Absolutely.
Because they don't have the money for transportation to get to work. I mean, there's some fundamental things that we don't need to forget about, and I think they're on the minds of people. And so, well, I thought again, did a nice job. He had the right temperament and all that kind of stuff. I don't have really high expectations. The political speech, he's setting the stage for his run for 2024. But he had some, and so we have to not lose sight of that. We have to not lose sight of the Republicans are setting the stage for their political run in 2024.
They all are.
So that they can, right, politics as usual.
Yeah.
But underlying all of that in our communities, we have to see what we can do, because we can't always just rely on the federal government. Push the president to do everything he can do. But we have to take matters into our own hands in our local communities, and I think that's what is resonating. So when we look at what's happening in Memphis, for instance, I think that's a message. We've seen different types of action from law enforcement, from leadership in law enforcement as a result of the murder of Mr. Nichols. That is an important step, and that underscores how our politics are local. We can rely on the federal government for some things. It would have been great if there were George Adjustment Policing Act in place, but I don't think it would have changed what that Scorpion unit did that day in murdering that young man. But it would have made a difference in the George Floyd, in the Breonna Taylor, in the thousands of other cases if there had been federal, like a George Floyd Policing Act. So we still need to push for that. We need to still push for voting rights. We just need to push for civil rights, human rights, basic rights. So none of that changes because of a great speech. And we have to remember that we're talking about politics. And so I think it's good to have a president, though, who I think he was much stronger than anyone believed he would be. When he talked about China, he was actually downright, belligerent, sort of.
Well, you know what? But you know what, CK? I think what we have to do, we have to roll this back a bit. We have an obligation to teach people how the system works. Politics, there's nothing wrong with politics. And you were not implying that, and I did not infer that. It is the business of how things get done. And politics is nothing about, it's just apportioning resources. And people who, the squeaky wheel gets, the loudest, the squeakiest wheel gets all the grease. Now, the fact is, when we have marched, when we have supported our organizations, our civil rights organizations, they are our lobbyists. When we get behind them, they are empowered to do what it is that we need them to do. CK, we have got to understand how the system works, and we have to work it. That's all. These folks pushed Preston Hemphill out there. That was not something that the police volunteered. No. These folks said, no, I see the tape and I see you. Who's that guy? Who tased him first? Oh, wait a minute. I see a watch. Oh, I see this. That's what we got to do. We're the ones who have to register people to vote all the time. Thank God for LaTosha Brown, and for the example of Reverend Jackson and Frank Watkins and you, Dr. Starks, down through the years, knowing that if we get in the process, whatever our disappointments, and they are many, but the promise is great as well. Dr. Starks, I got a couple minutes for you.
Okay, well, I am encouraged by Reverend Wilson's notion, because I am convinced that the only way we're going to get out of this, or at least make an impression on nationally, is we've got to go back to the coalition that was built by Dr. King and Reverend Jackson, i.e. the clergy, the legal community, youth, and most of all, and Santita, you and I have talked about this, women. If we put that coalition together, women, clergy, legal, and youth, we can then move forward. We've got to activate that coalition, and because we've got to make sure that our issues are put on the front burner, because politically, on a national level, everybody's going to be concerned about the presidential election in 24. So we sure our issue is included in everything, in every speech, whether it's pro or con, and that coalition has got to put
have to be out front, and we need men's support. We need to do everything. We got, and you know what? At the end of the day, just because I'm out front doesn't mean we're not doing it together. Okay? Because I'm that girl. I know that it takes us.
I don't think women have gotten the kind of recognition that
No.
they deserve, and traditionally in the civil rights movement, and because I don't think that we could have gotten to the point where we are now without the support of strong activist women going all the way back to pre-Civil War, all the way up to the present. For instance, there's no way that Reverend Warnock could have gotten elected senator in the state of Georgia had it not been for Stacey Abrams. Let's be real about it.
True. True that. Let's speak the truth. I forgot I'm not on mute.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Oh, that's the way you do it, CK.
Yeah.
But
But
I glad I didn't say you ain't never lied or something like that, so I'm sorry.
all that education just out the window. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I agree.
Well, this is the Santita Jackson show.
Yeah.
And Attorney CK and Reverend Wilson, how do we put this coalition back together and put it on the front burner?
Well, you know what, very quickly, just to let you all know, I've got a minute and a half. So if we could do the round robin, with all due respect to you, Keidron Franklin, and you, Dr. Starks, we have got Attorney Connolly, we've got Reverend Wilson, and CK. Take it away. Give everybody 20 seconds so we can get out of here.
Right after this discussion, we need to go back to the basics in our community and communities and organize. Take the page out of the handbook of Reverend Jackson, build a coalition as we discussed, and not lose sight of keeping our eye on the prize. Because they're going to be today, right now, if you speak, somebody just been killed at the hands of police. So we need to remember that.
Well, Attorney Aaron Connolly, 20 seconds.
Well, I want to encourage everyone who has not watched Working Families' response to the State of the Union. If there was something missing from the platform that you were hoping to hear about, I'm guessing that Congresswoman Delia Catalina Ramirez from Illinois' 3rd District spoke about it. You can check that out on YouTube or some of the other news stations today, particularly the Spanish language stations, will be covering the speech again in Spanish. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that there's a group of progressives that are going to come back to Chicago and be a part of many of these forums this weekend. So there's ways for you to take action on the issues that make sense to you, not only in this upcoming election, but every single day. And Rainbow Push can help you out with that.
Amen to that. Attorney Reverend Jeanette Wilson, Esquire, who's always wearing the collar to remind us that she is a woman of God.
Just to remind myself. Thank you so much, Santita. And I think all of us on this call can help us organize. We should be moving towards a major in-person summit at the Push Convention this summer. But in between then and now, we're going to be convening a series of Zoom calls. Aaron can help. Santita, you know you're helping. And certainly CK, Janice Mathis, who heads the National Council of Negro Women. You got the clergy that we are in relationship with, like Dr. Freddie Haynes and so many around the nation. Reverend Meeks has transferred power to Charlie Dace. There's a whole body of young prophetic voices that we want to connect to. And so we can do a national call and a series of them to begin to energize at the state level, the city level, the county level, and then we're going to go to Washington. We have to take our demands to the state. The Republicans organize state by state the states' rights agenda. We can go back state by state, and demand democracy. We can do it in the city council. So we got the power, and I have the faith that we can do it.
Amen. And we can actually create a democracy, because remember, that was not the original idea. But I don't care what the original idea was. The original idea was stealing people's land and having slavery. We've evolved, everybody. Let's keep on growing. Let's keep on going. Oh, yeah, that's who we are. We're that, too. We're also free people. We're also people who are going to repair and restore the indigenous communities and African American people and everybody who's been wronged. That's the only way God can bless us. I love you, everybody. Can't wait to be with you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show. God bless.
God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.